Hey everyone, welcome to Drawing on the Couch, episode one, or let's just call it number one. And what I'm going to do is I want to start drawing every day as much as I can for an hour a day. And so I figured I'd go ahead and record that process. Now I'm not going to lie to you. And you see I'm flipping through my sketchbook here and about to start drawing on a blank page. I haven't drawn in a long time. Now, I drew all the time when I was younger, and then as I got older, life happened, and I kind of slowed down on drawing. And before I knew it, I wasn't drawing very much at all. And they say you should draw at least an hour a day to keep your skills sharp. And so, honestly, I've been doing so many other things with my life, 3D related game work, and things that didn't involve drawing that I got pretty stale. And so I haven't really sat down. So you're going to see here that as I'm drawing, I'm doing a goblin. I'm trying to do an orc or a goblin here. I like to draw goblins and stuff. I'm not real loose. I'm real. My hand is real tight. I'm real sketchy here the way I'm drawing, and this is a result of not drawing every day. This is what happens when you let your skills get rusty. Anyway, I'm just using essentially what is a number 2 school pencil in this video. It's actually a drawing pencil from Derwent. It's an HB pencil, and so if you're not familiar with drawing pencils, they have different hardnesses and whatnot. And this is an HB, which is equivalent to a number 2 pencil that you'd use in school. Those old famous yellow pencils, and that's what I used to use in school all the time. I grew up in a small town. I didn't know anything about drawing pencils and all that kind of jazz. I didn't have money when I was growing up, and we didn't have an art store in our little town in South Texas. So I just used a yellow number 2 pencil for most of my drawing days back then, and I got pretty good with it. I could do some really good shading that things would look pretty much realistic in my latter years in high school. Anyway, so it's a HB pencil, and you can see there I didn't like what I started with. It looked terrible, so I erased it. And I use several different erasers. I'll use a Mars plastic eraser. It's white. I'll also use the kneaded erasers. They're gray. You can shape them into whatever size you want. They're gummy. And I also use pink pearl erasers, just plain Jane. Again, those are right out of what you would use in school. You'll find in every kid's school box. So I've changed here to another goblin type character. The first guy was more orc-like, but this guy's more goblin-like, I guess. And you'll see that I really am struggling a lot here just to get the shapes right and the proportions right. Now his proportions are pretty off, but it's okay because I know how to exaggerate proportions and still be okay. And that's an important part there. To be able to know how to do that properly is all about studying people and anatomy. Always be looking at people, be a person watcher, study their bodies, how they move, and then get some anatomy books, and that'll help you. Once you know your anatomy proportions, it's okay to exaggerate them when you're doing something non-realistic or non-human in this case. So I'm just trying to throw in some lines to show where all those important parts of a face are: the cheekbones, the septum on the nose, the temples, and whatnot. See here, I'm drawing a little bit darker too at this point. Starting to get happy with some of the lighter lines. Trying to, come up with shapes that I like out of the sketchiness. I'm still really sketchy. Again, my hand is not as loose as it should be. I haven't warmed up either. I mean, I just sat down on the couch. It's kind of cold in my house, so I got a little blanket on. You can see there, red blanket. Sitting in front of the TV and just drawing. And I've got my GoPro, basically. I didn't even have a light. I have the light in the dining room on, but I didn't have a proper LED light pointing at the drawing, so it's a little dark. And that will affect not only what it looks like on camera, obviously, but also your ability to draw properly. And it didn't help that because my GoPro was only a couple of feet, maybe less, above the drawing, that it was hard for me to get in close. A lot of times when I'm drawing, I will get in really close with my face so I can get real close to the drawing and see the detail lines a lot better. It's a lot harder, especially as I've gotten older. My eyes are blurring out on me, especially my left eye. I'm losing focus. I have to wear reading glasses now, which is a new thing for me over the past year. And it makes it a little bit harder to draw those detail lines if you're you're not up close and have good glasses on or whatever, if your eyesight is a problem. Anyway, as mine is. So this guy's turning out to be a pretty cartoony guy. Nothing special. Just I'm not trying to do anything completely just mind blowing here, because, like I said, I haven't drawn in months and months. On a regular basis, I haven't drawn in years. Occasionally, I will pick up some paper and start drawing, and the skills are still there. It's like a bicycle; you never forget. So the skills are still there, and once I've loosened up, I can do some pretty good work still. But from night to night, it's different. Like this night, it just wasn't happening. I just wasn't feeling it. Just my hands were not loosening up well enough, and the shapes just weren't coming out of the paper. The inspiration just wasn't flowing. And sometimes, a lot of the lines you create are just accidents as you're drawing, and you're like, oh, that looks good there. But to be honest, that's not the best way to draw, I don't think, to just expect accidents to happen that look good. You really got to know your shapes and know your anatomy and know where those lines belong. Otherwise, you're just going to fight like I am right now, fighting with the pencil to get everything to look right. So this is a perfect example of what happens to you when you don't draw in a long time. So hopefully my goal here is to keep drawing every night, and as I do, to get, obviously get that looseness coming back, get the muscle memory working again, and the anatomy coming back into my memory of how things should look. And yeah, but anyway, I'm not trying to, like I said, create something that's completely, wow, that's an amazing piece of work, and not even a portfolio piece here. This is just sketching and just trying to get back in the habit, of drawing. They say you should, if you want to master any skill, you should be good at it by the 10,000th hour, which is a lot. That's about 30 years of a person's life if you're doing it for an hour a day. So while they say you should do something for at least an hour a day, if you really want to master it, you should be doing it as often as possible, more than an hour a day. So really the goal here is not just to do it for an hour a day, but at least to start out that way, and over time rebuild that desire that I had as a kid, as a youngin', to draw, as often as I have time to, rather than just, a chore to do it for an hour a day or whatever. So that's a big part of it. Now, a lot of people think you have to have some kind of built-in talent or innate talent to be an artist, to draw. And I, growing up, and every time someone would see me drawing, they would always be like, "Wow, I wish I could draw. You're so good at that. How did you, you're so talented." And I just say thank you and move along. But the more I began to think about it, the more I realized I didn't start out talented as an artist. I didn't start out being able to draw stuff. I started out doing stick figures just like everybody else. Maybe when I was 5 years old, maybe younger, when I could hold a pencil. It's one of my first memories is drawing at my grandmother's table in Arkansas. And I used to live in Arkansas when I was really young, and I would stay at my grandmother's house when my mother worked, and I would draw. And we didn't have a lot of ability and financially back then to do a lot of stuff, and there wasn't a lot, there was no internet, obviously, and a lot of my early inspiration comes from TV shows that I could watch on the 3 channels that we had, ABC, NBC, CBS, but also from Star Wars, which had come out in 70, I want to say 77, anyway, and I was born 73, so I saw Star Wars at the theater, and then I was just hooked, right? And I started drawing stick figure battles, side view, kind of like a side scroller in a game of Star Wars, So TIE fighters and X-Wings fighting in space, and Darth Vader and Luke Skywalker, fighting with lightsabers. And it was all stick figures at first, and really terrible drawings. And I'd just use an ink pen or whatever I could find. And then I'd have friends that would be over, and they would draw with me, and we'd do little battle scenes and all kinds of stuff. And that's how I got started. And I just liked it so much that I kept doing it. And I had all this free time back then because I didn't have internet. I wasn't playing video games. Not that much TV to watch. So either you were outside in the sun playing with your friends, getting into all kinds of trouble, and or you were inside drawing or something like that. And so that's what I did. And I just kept drawing. And I, slowly but surely moved out of the stick figure phase into 3D shapes. And I remember getting a book when I was in second grade on how to draw cartoon characters. And it taught me about basic shapes, right? And construction method, how to draw that kind, using those kinds of techniques. And then I started getting good at doing that, recognizing the basic shapes, how a human head is a box, a rounded box, and how the arms are cylinders, and you learn to see the world that way. You look around you at objects and you see, oh, that's a cube, that's a sphere, that's a whatever, a cylinder, and you put them all together and you make, it gives you a quick leg up. Now, I got so good at using those basic shapes in the construction method that I stopped using them eventually, to the point where my hand just knew where to go because I had developed muscle memory. And so rather than starting out with basic shapes, sometimes I still do. Sometimes especially when I'm doing a head or something, I might start out with a boxy sphere type shape. But a lot of times I'll just start out drawing an eyeball and drawing a nose and drawing, just go right at it. And because I have that muscle memory of drawing those basic shapes, I know where everything goes. Plus I started studying anatomy, start getting books on anatomy and stuff. Anyway, and that's the long story of how I became an artist, and that's how anyone can become an artist. You could start no matter how old you are. If you can still hold a pencil, unless you're all arthritic and stuff, and you can't use your hands or something. I've even heard of artists that are quadriplegics or whatever, and they paint with their mouth. They have paintbrushes in their mouth and whatever. Like, there's always a way to become to get good at doing art. But anyway, that's my story. And I did it religiously for many, many years, up until I got out of high school. And, a lot of things happen when you get out of high school, with life. Whether they're good or bad, they tend to take over your life. And I just kind of slowly but surely stopped drawing. Not totally. I still draw occasionally, but I stopped drawing on a regular basis. And that really was unfortunate because I was already, by the time I had finished high school in 91. By the time 1991 rolls around and I'm getting out of high school, and that's a funny story that I'll tell sometime, but not today. I was already en route to be, I was the best artist in my school. Not to brag, there was nobody that could draw like I could. And I was on on the way to becoming a top tier artist in the entire country. But then I let life slow me down, and I still got the skills, but it doesn't come as easily as it should be at my age, and I should be at a much better, as far as quality level, I should be at a much higher rank. And that's all, honestly, all that is at this point is not learning something new on how to draw, because learning how to draw is pretty easy. The basics are pretty easy. It's really just the constant practice. That's what it comes down to. So if you find that you're getting up to a certain level and you know how to do everything and make it look cool, but for some reason you feel like you're not at that top tier yet, all it is practice. That's it. Just keep practicing, keep drawing every single day, and before you know it, you will find yourself at the top tier. Now, on top of that, I'm obviously sketching here with a pencil, and another important part of being a top tier artist, I would say, is not just being a black and white artist, so to speak, doing pencil work or ink work, but also learning how to do full color stuff. And that's a whole nother beast, right? That's a whole nother thing you have to master, because color is a very complex topic. It's the interaction. It's all scientific. It's light and color bleed and composition and tone and all that being merged together into a piece. It's a lot. There's a lot to know there. The old masters, as they called them, obviously they studied their whole lives to get good at being able to do full color paintings and whatnot. And so it's important to not just focus, I guess, on one type of art, not just be a penciler. If that's all you want to be, that's fine. Just be a penciler. If all you want to do is comic book art and all you want to do is a pencil work and let someone else ink and color, that's fine too. I'm not saying you absolutely have to learn more, but you could be the top tier penciler, in the comics industry. You could be a Jim Lee or be one of those guys that's just like, absolutely top tier, and everybody knows the name. But you know, if you really want to be a well-rounded artist, it's a good idea to learn coloring and all that kind of stuff too. Get into oil painting, get into watercolor, immerse yourself in art. But again, you know, that's entirely up to you. You don't have to. That's just me. I like to do a little bit of everything. That's part of my problem, I think, is I just like to do too much, and so it's easy to get distracted. Anyway, that's my rant for the day. About to wrap this guy up here. By the way, this was at 3x speed, so I really spent about 45 minutes on him, not a full hour, but close enough. He didn't really come out all that great, but you know what? It's a sketch, and I loosened up. It helped me to get back into drawing. So we'll see you next time.